Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for X-Men 97, Episode 5, Remember It. I will be going into spoilers because oh boy, if you haven't seen this episode, go check it out. It is just magnificent storytelling, emotional stakes, and just some really messed up things happening to the X-Men, but it is done in such a good way. Everything that we've been setting up so far, we paid off a lot of things in this one, and I did not expect this one to be so emotional and so kind of dark in the themes. Yeah, this one just kind of messed me up all over. As I was watching towards the end, like I was getting like I could feel my eyes swelling up because it, like I said, very emotional. I think um, the creators of the show have found such a really interesting way to emotionally connect to the viewer, especially if you have a legacy with a lot of these characters and a lot of history with the show. So I'm interested to feel how newer audiences are feeling about this, right? Because I think it's different, but yeah, we're gonna get into it. So, um, first of all, let's talk about the side storyline. We have these reporters at the X Mansion, and they're doing kind of like a report on um, just interviews with the X Men that are there. We see Beast talking about humans and mutants coexisting. We see Jubilee talking about the types of classes that they take at the Xavier Institute. We see Cyclops both trying to explain how he's the leader, but also like trying to dance around the fact that his son had like he lost his son to a time traveler. Obviously, he doesn't go into those details because I don't think the public needs to know that. But the reporter definitely did her work, and I forget the name of the reporter, but she's definitely someone from the comics. I remember the name. It starts with a T both in first and last name, so you know that we love our double consonant sounds. Stanley loved those, the alliteration in the name. So, but yeah, we also have a really interesting scene with Wolverine and Jean trying to connect, and Jean gets some psychic feedback from Scott and Madeline Pryor, and she kind of finds out that they've been communicating psychically, whatever, with their mind. It's really really interesting. Like just the soap opera drama of the X-Men is such it's at such high levels here. Um, and then we're gonna leave off there, go to the main story because that'll kind of come to fruition altogether at the end. Um, the X-Men are on a trip to the nation of Genosha, who is about to be welcomed into the United Nations. So we have the love triangle of Magneto, Rogue, and also Gambit. Gambit kind of tagged along once Rogue was going. Obviously, we are aware that Gambit is aware of their relationship, but in this episode, we find out a little bit more about that. There's some really cool cameos as we get to Genosha. A lot of the Generation X, we see Herman Glob, we see Wink, we see Leech once again. We finally get our boy Nightcrawler. So just Dazzler's there. There's so many cameos. I don't have time to go over everyone, but I love it. I love the message of like Genosha. It is a haven for mutants, where reminds me a lot of the Krakoan stuff that's going on in the comics that is actually coming to a conclusion right now. It feels like, although they're not calling Genosha Krakoa, it's pretty close to it, right? It even has its own little council with Sebastian Shaw, Emma Frost, Moira McTaggart, who in Moira McTaggart is not a mutant in the show. At least she hasn't revealed to be one. Um, and they're bringing in Magneto because they want him to be the chancellor and kind of rule over Genosha as they are welcoming into the United Nations. We keep seeing the same representative from the UN coming in to do all the negotiations. Obviously, she's not on board with Magneto being the leader, but the compromise is that Rogue will be like his. They kind of they're trying to put them together as a couple. So they're saying that they would reign together. Now this brings up a difficult choice between Gambit and Rogue, and a difficult conversation, right? Um, Rogue explains to Gambit the depths of her relationship with Magneto, how when she was with her mom and she was kind of with the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, they had a relationship because they realized that Rogue could physically touch Magneto without hurting him, without taking his powers. But Gambit makes the point that, sometimes the relationship should be more than the physical, which is like Gambit really putting it all out there in this episode. Yeah. So there's going to be a big party, big gala. This is the only note I actually wrote down because I didn't want to forget to go over this. As we zoom in into the setting of the gala, there's a shot of the sky, the night sky in Genosha. We see an outline of a watcher. I don't know that it was Uatu, but it's definitely a watcher. And the watchers only show up in the Marvel Universe when something really big is about to happen. And that's how I knew that something really big was about to happen. I heard a little bit of the buzz online throughout the day until I was able to watch the episode. But boy, oh boy, I was not prepared for what was about to happen. Um, we get first of all, a really fun sequence of a dance with Magneto and Rogue. But at the end of that, there's a big party going on. At the end of that, Rogue, um, Rogue decides to be with Gambit. Like she makes her choice. She declines Magneto's offer to rule Genosha by his side. Um, I was not expecting that. I didn't know that kind of came out of nowhere for me. But then we also see Madeline Pryor. She's getting a little bit of psychic feedback from somewhere, and then who shows up? None other than Cable. He's trying to warn them. He goes to see his mom, which is a really touching moment because although they don't get a lot of words to say together, they have that psychic bond that she prepared before you went into the future. She recognizes that's her son, and Cable's trying to get people to evacuate the island, get people to go away because he knows something really bad is about to happen. Unfortunately, his time sliding thing runs out and he goes away before he's able to warn everyone. This is when things get really heavy. This like giant sentinel with three heads shows up and it's like almost like a kaiju, starts destroying Genosha and starts killing off mutants. We see that uh, you know Nightcrawler shows up to save Rogue and Magneto from a blast, and he's gravely injured. So Magneto, Rogue, and Gambit are the ones that have to try to save everyone, make sure that everybody can get to safety. But man, there are so many casualties. Uh, it is it is incredible. Uh, all the all the damage and destruction that is done in this episode, and like stuff like this is why the X-Men, as campy as the show is and as soap opera as the show is, like they are still hitting the message that the X-Men have always been hitting, which is they are a marginalized group that gets violence from these bigots who don't accept them, and they are the ones that end up paying a lot of the price and the consequences, and it all leads to destruction, right? Obviously it's hyperbolized, but not even really. Like we've seen things like that happen in the real world. So yeah, it is once again just a masterful combination of what you want to see in your superhero comics, but while still maintaining the core conceit of the X-Men. It's just something to behold. It's such a great episode. We see big battle. Magneto tries to take out this gigantic Titan Sentinel, um, and as they go in, they try to get everybody together. We see the Sentinel is about to attack Rogue, so Gambit comes into play, and then Gambit gets impaled by this like tentacle thing that comes out of the Sentinel, and as the Sentinel is about to kill Gambit, Gambit just makes the whole Sentinel, like fills him up with his energy, and boy, Gambit goes out like a champ. Rogue is able to find the body in the rubble, but by this time it's too late. They killed Gambit. Gambit is dead, and I was like, "What the hell is happening?" We cut to the mansion once again, where the X-Men are finding out all these things over the news, and it is just such a sad conclusion. So I don't know what's gonna happen next. I think we have Life Death Part 2 next, and then we'll have probably the last three episodes, which I know are going to be the conclusion of everything. So what a fantastic episode! Probably the best one of the season so far. Just everything was on point. The animation, the voice performances, they really hit those emotions home, especially in the latter half of the episode. So really, really, really cool stuff. If you've seen this episode, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. As always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned. We have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff here on the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.